important than that. Okay. Emor begins with a command to Moses to say to people, to say to the priests in particular, what they need to be doing. And it's fascinating. No, Rose, it's a great question. You said, is amour love? In French, sure. But in Hebrew, no. Emor is the command form of the word omer. So a person must say. What must you say? We are told that Moses was told to speak to the priests. And in fact, the way that Moshe is told to do this repeats the action of speaking many times. Emor el hakohanim lemor, right? Say to them, saying, daber, say. And over, the action of speaking happens. And it's worthy of our focus for a second. Why does Moses need to be told so much when there's a biblical text that uses a word over and over that's actually called a leitmotif, not only in the Torah, in literature? When a word happens many times, there's a hidden message in there. You're supposed to pick up on the fact that the word happens so many times. In fact, for the binding of Isaac, the word that is hidden is ro'eh, is to see. And the name at the end of the binding of Isaac, the name of the place becomes Adonai Yireh, or Be'er Lachai Ro'i, something about sight. Well, in our case, it's about speaking. Because even if you tell the priest what to do, there is something about the recitation itself. And we know the power of words. In fact, the first creative act, the most important creative act that birthed existence itself, happened through words. Yehi or, let there be light. There are other parts of creation where it involves physicality. But in the acts of creation, the first 7 days, it is truly acts of words, of divine speech, which of course we channel through our own. We are taught that we are created in God's image, but as Heschel taught us, with a fraction of God's infinite power at our disposal. You and I know the power of words. Caustic, cruel words bite, they hurt. We've been taught, I was taught as a child, the phrase, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. It's not true. Of course, it's not true. Words hurt. And that's why Judaism has always taught the importance of lashon naki, of having a clean way of speaking. When we speak, we can change things. When we recite, we can remember things. It's one of the reasons that these Torah portions and these moments where we recite things are so important. How important it has been for us, not just for 222 mornings since October 7th, but every time we have ever said something from our hearts on behalf of the world, on behalf of our people, or when we've been subject to words that are blasphemous because they are not. They're not kind, they're inaccurate, they convey hate. There is so much for us to say. And that's the point. There's so much for us to say. Words matter. How we use our words matter. Pausing before we speak when we're feeling angry is wisdom. The priests who are called to do the work need to be told many, many times, so much so that, in fact, the rabbis tell stories of how, in preparation for Yom Kippur, the high priest, whose work mattered so much that the entire world's existence was dependent upon it, had to review it over and over and over, because you just have to get those words right. If you've ever given an important speech and you've worried about getting the words just right, you know this. If you've ever slipped when speaking aloud, you ever notice when you're texting with someone, if you have the technology that shows you the three dots that are moving as they're texting you back, and it takes a while, you wonder, are they trying to get the words just right? What would happen if we were speaking to each other? What if we slipped with those words? Using words to be comforting too. Debbie, I'm so sorry that your friend died last night. That's not just a word. That's a commitment to being in relationship, to doing healing work. And I hope that we'll use our words well. And I hope that we will call out when words are being used to harm. You and I, friends, inhabit a world right now where words are being used in calculated ways to hurt. We are entering the heat of a political campaign where words will be used to hurt. I ask us to pay attention because the very fabric of society is defined by the way we speak to each other. We use our words to call out to. When I say bring them home, of course I already felt it. Of course I'm wearing it. But we are called to say such things and then to say them again until they are heard, until no one needs me to be the one saying it. Because the good words, the words calling out for health and hope and return and healing, those words become the way we speak to each other. So I want to bless you, friends. I want to bless you to remember your words, just like we were taught if you were in an early childhood setting or your children have been, right? Use your words. But friends, I mean it in the emphatic way, just like the Torah portion is named in the emphatic. Emor, speak, because silence has its own impact too. The creative action begins with a creative word. Judaism believes that so deeply. Let's use our words to be comforting. Let's use our words to be strong. Let's use our words to be courageous. Just like the priests were told over and over how to do what they needed to do because sacred service demands recitation and repeating. It's worth repeating over and over. Even if you think the world should have already heard us, it's 222 days since October 7th. Our words matter more now than they did before. More now. I spoke to someone yesterday who was struggling whether to go to someone's funeral or the Shiva. They really had to make that choice. It was very complicated. And I said, of course, they're both mitzvot. There's no comparing them. But I often believe that Shiva is so much more important because in a funeral, when you're the one in grief, it's hard to even know who's there. But then what's even more important than Shiva are the days after Shiva, where the silence begins, where the ritual convening of friends and loved ones and community changes. Now, in that silence, we can find great wisdom. We can find comfort. I don't mean to belittle silence, but words can help when we choose them well. So I bless you, friends. I bless me that we should use our words well. Our words, which should be holy, should be heard, and they should have a creative impact on this earth. The days of Yom HaShoah, Yom HaZikaron, and Yom HaAtzmaut just ended. Just ended. But just because the holy convenings of the modern Jewish people's high holy days, these weeks, have been full of our history, that doesn't mean we're done talking about it. If it matters, we'll say it again. I bless you, friends. Keep saying, keep talking, keep screaming. Shout for the world's sake. Shout for our children's sakes. Shout for our ancestors' sakes. Shout for all the hostages and their families. Shout for our students. Shout words that you choose well, but don't get quiet. It's not time for that. It's really never time for that. One day, please God, being quiet will be fine. When you need the quiet to recharge, take that even now. But when you're done with that, get back to work. That's what we got to do. Let's send our hearts east, friends. Let's sing. Kolon balevav pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia עוד לא עבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Emor, say these words. Say them with me. Bring them home now. Bring them home now. Bring them home now. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, friends.